Welcome back to the show. We're going to talk about BAC. They may be going public. Hester, Peirce is in the news. Crypto Mom talks crypto clarity. We're going to talk about an upcoming meeting with the Fed, and we're going to talk about Flare Networks. It's back in the news, and it's big, baby. Let's go ahead and roll that beautiful intro. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Backup Bradley above at the top of the screen, and everything that we're talking about here today. Looking at the market cap, well over $1 trillion. I tell you, I can't stand it. It makes me feel so good. I get giddy inside because I know it's just the beginning. This is how early we are. This will be a multi-trillion-dollar market, and we've just now crossed over the last few days here the $1 trillion mark. Very exciting. Looking here with our feet planted firmly on the ground, Bitcoin is $40,102. We are looking at XRP at 31 cents right now. We're up 34.14 cents despite all of the news with the SEC lawsuit and everything else that has followed. Let's continue to move through this information very quickly here. Michael Val 5 Link, shout out to you, my friend. He says, you don't say. Reminder here that Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, and Gemini, four of the world's most prominent cryptocurrency exchanges, experienced technical issues on Thursday after the price of Bitcoin shot past $40,000. Well, isn't that the darndest thing? I don't know what it is. I must say, Michael Val 5 Links is bringing up a really great point here because this just seems to keep happening. I don't know what it is, but it's worth noting that it does happen often, right? And this is from DJ Peter Vass. Shout out to you, my friend. Cryptocurrency exchange backed may soon go public. Just a reminder for anybody new in this space, cryptocurrency exchange backed is owned by the parent company ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange, which also owns the New York Stock Exchange. Hello. Yeah, if you thought crypto was going backwards, I think that one might help you. So right here, we want to look at this because this is a little piece that came out, I guess, just today, actually. And this is her first public remarks. This is SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce says enforcement is never a good way to provide clarity. Let's just drill down into this. It's not very long, but I do know a couple spots in here I want to pay attention to. So here we see that U.S. Secretary's Exchange Commissioner Hester Peirce said the SEC could do better on clarity and regulation, and that enforcement isn't always the best way to provide guidance. Peirce made in her first public remarks since the SEC's lawsuit against Ripple in an exclusive interview with Forecast news editor-in-chief Angie Lau. In December last year, SEC filed the lawsuit against cryptocurrency platform Ripple Labs and CEO Brad Garlinghouse and Chairman Chris Larsen for allegedly raising $1.3 billion through the sales of digital asset known as XRP in an unregistered securities offering. The lawsuit also said that Larsen and Garlinghouse affected personal unregistered sales of XRP totaling $600 million. Okay, so we all know the score on that. One thing I do want to say is that she did make it clear she didn't want to speak on to any particular cryptocurrency, like what is going on with the case, whether it's in litigation with us or not in litigation with us. But I think everyone has to look at the facts and circumstances, said Peirce. Peirce declined to comment specifically on the Ripple lawsuit given the ongoing litigation. It expressed her views were her own, not necessarily those of the SEC or fellow commissioners. The SEC action over Ripple has led to heightened concerns in the crypto industry over the lack of regulatory clarity, with Ripple CEO saying we've moved from a lack of regulatory clarity to regulatory chaos in the U.S. in a Twitter thread on some of the questions surrounding the SEC lawsuit. It really has become that. There's no question about it. Again, I just want to highlight very quickly that I think what we need for the SEC is to have a second test, just like the Howey test, not a replacement of the Howey test, but a second individual test that stands alone, like the Howey test for digital assets and for the new SEC division that has been created for digital assets. So then they would also have the Howey test for securities, and they would have a Ripple test after a legal decision here, whether it goes to distance or whether they can settle legally through the process before going to trial, which I believe, I would imagine that they do that. It would be very hard for me to believe that it would go all the way to court and through the whole process. That's just me, but maybe it does. I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a second here too. So looking here, we have an upcoming meeting. You know, we always want to take these dates of these meetings with agencies. We don't know what they'll yield, but we do know that we should put them on the calendar and pay attention to them and see if they do give us something that we can make sense of as far as us as crypto investors moving forward. And this one here will be on January 12th and 13th. I did register, and I'm going to hopefully see what we get out of this when it's going to be Governor Lael Brainerd, who's going to be speaking, and she has obviously an incredible amount of knowledge about cryptocurrency, stable coins, and AI and financial services. And she's very good at communicating what's going on. So I will be tuning into that to see if we can figure out or glean anything as far as the Fed's view on artificial intelligence and financial services. All right, looking here, we have the Euro ST. So the EURST stablecoin set the path that major central banks now want to follow. Central bankers are seeing the success of stablecoins, digital tokens, pegged to national currencies, and they fear being left behind as people are using the new innovation. Oh, well, that's not all now. I mean, what's interesting to me about this here, let's just read this little piece here. So from Asia to Europe, major central banks all around the world are expected to announce their own digital currencies soon. Isn't that interesting how timely that is? That they're all expected to announce their own digital currencies soon. But I thought this country can't tell that country what to do, and that country can't tell this country what to do. Yeah, because they're all working together on an international level, and it comes from the top down. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. So stable coins like the US are on our Euro ST, are on the right path forward, and they can serve to show how national economies should reinvent themselves following the current crisis. Can't talk today. There is a lot of discussions in economic forums and reports in the financial press these days about central bank digital currencies and how they can help build a post-pandemic economy. Many countries in various regions are said to be developing the same version of a CBDC as far apart as Thailand and Ukraine. In fact, major central banks have been working on CBDCs for a few years already. That's not the way they've been portraying it to the public, though, is it? And the European Central Bank's upcoming digital euro and China's digital yuan are expected to be among the first. I'll stop right there. But what I wanted to point out is there's a lot of discussions in economic forums, like this one. This one I've been showing you since last January, right here, that shows that this, if you look in the top left corner, WEF CBDC Policymaker Toolkit. This is what they've been using, and they got it at Davos in January 2020. Sheila Warren is the head of blockchain for the World Economic Forum and was also a speaker at the most recent Swell event for Ripple. Yep. And this says right here, XRP settlement, I've said it a bunch, right? Designed for inter and interbank payments and settlements. Why are all these countries developing a CBDC? It just happens to be soon. They're all getting ready in a timely manner to launch a CBDC. Because they all went to Davos and they all got this, the Policymaker Toolkit. And they've been working on it even before then, because they said in the article, they've been working on it for the past few years. So now, let's get on to the other idea and notion that we're moving on to a new financial system that is going to involve these on and off ramps that should be CBDCs and stable coins, because we don't have a digital world unless you have a digital dollar for everyone to use. So that's why we're seeing all the central banks and all the countries and private companies building stable coins or central bank digital currencies to provide the on and off ramp to the new financial system. Why are we staring at a post here from Flare Networks about Flare Networks? Because I think Flare Networks is a part of that new financial system, hashtag Internet of Value. Flare Networks is set to bring smart contracts to Litecoin network. Oh, wow. So you mean to tell me now, and this is what's interesting about this, it says Flare Networks pivots to Litecoin as SEC alleges XRP is unregistered security. Oh, it pivots. Flare came in and said, not so fast, player. This headline is entirely misleading. Flare is adding Litecoin as an asset alongside XRP. The F asset protocol is universal, not pivoting. Cool. Probably should have called first. Yeah, shout out to Hugo and everybody over there at Flare. Boy, I would tell you, it's pretty interesting to me because what I see here now, let's just walk through this real quick here. First of all, Flare Networks, obviously a bridge there, two-way bridge for the XRP ledger, using the Ethereum virtual machine to tap into the smart contract network of the Ethereum network. And now, setting alongside another asset, now Litecoin network, so they can bring smart contracts to that. Well, if I didn't know any better, this looks a lot like a new protocol for the entire internet or new financial network that we're building. They're seeing built for the last several years, whether it's the XRP ledger or Litecoin or Ethereum, when you can bring all of these networks together in a manner of interoperability so they can act as one single layer or one unit with all of these layers, you really are creating a federated system. And that is the current internet that we're using right now, right? Whether it's the SMT protocol for email or whether it's the HTTP protocol for websites or whether it's the FTP protocol for file transfer, you think you get the picture. All of those protocols work together in one, right? And that creates a federated system or a federated layer, however you want to say it. But this is what I see happening for finance right here with Flare Networks and XRP. So really, really shout out to Flare Networks, Hugo, and the whole team over there. So what does it mean? What is this? What is this? This is TradingView is what this is. And I've had a lot of people send this to me. And shout out to the person who sent this to me. And I don't want to close this picture and then show their private messages that are no big deal, but just out of respect to them. But shout out to them. They know who they are. And I've had a lot of people send it. But this is pretty remarkable. It was Just Invest, I think is his name. But at any rate, he wanted to share here that, look, you're seeing gold paired to XRP, silver paired to XRP. This is on TradingView, by the way. You can see Brent crude oil and was it West Texas oil instruments or something like that, investments, and then gold and silver, obviously they're showing here. This is pretty neat, and they commented in here, and I'm not like an expert at moving around on TradingView, but what I did do is pull it up, and what I thought would be nice is if I do this right in front of everybody. Let's type Flare and then XRP, and look what comes up. Really? Wow. Look at all those pairs. When you think about what's going on with the lawsuit of XRP, Ripple, and you think about the expansion of utility with Flare Networks, I can't help but think of what they say all the time. It's really about all the money. It's really about all the money, right? That's what this is about. Being able to exchange anything of value using XRP as the bridge asset in the back. whether it's a CBDC, stablecoin, oil, right? UK pound, Indian rupee, gold, Thai baht. It doesn't matter. Supply chains, trade finance, doesn't matter what it is. FX market. That's what this is about. And if that's going to work, maybe, just maybe, it has to be something like this for it to work.
Idea of that presents regulatory challenges. Now, there are a bunch of solutions that I've heard people talk about on this. One would be, imagine a world where there was a central government blockchain and all other chains sort of connected to it.
Did you hear that? Yeah. Just a reminder that happens to be. As a matter of fact, let me back it up. The volume might not have been where it needed to be. Let me give it to you again.
Idea of that presents regulatory challenges. Now, there are a bunch of solutions that I've heard people talk about on this. One would be, imagine a world where there was a central government blockchain and all other chains sort of connected to it.
Did you hear that? That's Brian Brooks, the head of the National Federally Chartered Banking System in the United States of America. Now, I mean, they're all speculative ideas that he's sharing in this particular conversation. But he said one of the solutions that I hear people talking about is the idea of adopting a central government blockchain. I mean, when I think about the idea of the pairings that we just had here, when we talked about this with Flare, it won't pull up again. But when I think about the idea of XRP really as a new pairing, a new form of money that sits as a pairing against everything of value, whether it is a currency or whether it's some tokenized commodity, whatever it is. I don't know, but I mean, I tell you, it feels like something's coming. Now, I floated out on this channel, and I want to be clear. I had a video the other day where I was talking about, we have discussed a handful of videos here now about the idea of XRP getting a potential different designation than currency designation from the SEC or otherwise. I've made it very clear that I personally see XRP as a currency, But and I misspoke the other day and actually said security, but I see XRP personally myself as a currency. However, I do believe that there is a possibility that we could see a different designation, but regardless of whatever they designate the asset, I don't believe that they clip its wings to the point that it can't function at its full-scale intended use. That's the point, right? And the other point is that this here is the International Monetary Fund. I showed this in an earlier video, but I want to go back and show you this again with everything that we've looked at up until now, especially in it. It's exciting to me to see what Flare Networks is doing. Because I tell you, I just think that there's a there, okay? There is a there, and it's a good there for me. So when I think of that, and then I think about what the International Monetary Fund has laid out for classification of crypto assets, I start saying to myself, where does it fit in? Where does XRP fit in for me here? Well, when I think about the idea of when I think about the idea that it's an asset that you could lend. First of all, Ripple has said that they're lending the asset and people can pay it back with interest, right? Well, first of all, that looks a lot to me like a debt security if the issuer recognizes a liability and pays interest. That looks a lot to me like a debt security. Now, I had been talking about things potentially being a derivative security, not a security in the manner that it gives you ownership of Ripple, the company. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a designation, whatever they call it. And I don't want to get too hung up on what it may or may not be, other than the fact that don't get shocked if you see some other potential designation. Don't let it rock you, because we need to make sure that whatever they say it is, when this finally shakes out, that we understand that it doesn't harm the intended use and it doesn't harm us as actual holders of it. But every good monetary system has a bond market. if you envision the idea that XRP could be, according to this IMF chart, classification chart, I could easily envision that XRP could work in a couple of these classifications. But just looking at it as a debt security right here, imagine that if the ledger itself is collateralized to bring value to it, which would make sense, then you have that value that is put up and then the XRP that is received for that. That, to me, could really qualify as an asset security token or a debt security, right? So it doesn't mean it would harm its use. It still has utility, so it could operate as a stable coin or as just a token itself. The window is open. The only thing I'm really trying to do through discussing this and entertaining these different outcomes is because I want us to be prepared. I don't want you or me or whatever, anyone listening, to have this knee-jerk emotional reaction and instantly think if it's not what you wanted to hear, then you just have this emotional reaction and then you do something that is more of a like a knee-jerk response than something that's really thought out. We've all been here a long time, and just make sure you give yourself the time to really understand the possibilities of what we could be looking at. So I could see from the IMF diagram here that we could see something other than a currency designation, potentially. We do know that things tend to come from the international level and trickle down. So with that in mind, we will keep an eye on what comes next. The other thing I wanted to say is that if we were to see some kind of security designation, that's not a stock that gives you ownership in Ripple, but a debt security or derivative security kind of designation for the asset because of the collateral that's put up and it's still allowed to operate as a currency or stable coin, then maybe we start to see from that position a bond-style market developed off of XRP because of that structuring. And that, to me, would be very healthy because I believe every currency needs to have a bond market or you don't really have a currency, at least not up until this time in history at any rate. So looking onto this, I see here from BlueNet Gaming, thank you, BlueNet, while one exchange closes its doors, another opens one, and it says here, is it Poloniex? I think it is, if I'm not saying it wrong. XRP perpetual futures are now open for trading. Start trading and join our competition starting there, 20 UTC. And all I'll say to this is, because BlueNet asked if I had any thoughts on this, and I do. I think this leans into the idea of what we just looked at and what I just walked you through, is the idea that is to get people off of the asset itself and to get them trading and dealing with the products that are on top of the underlying asset, because that looks more like the conventional markets. I forget the exact numbers, but I did a video on this probably a year and a half ago that, there was, and I'm going to make the number up because I know it's not accurate, so don't send me emails on it, but let's just take an arbitrary number. It's something like, I don't know, 100 or 200, million or $1 billion is done in actual physical gold buying and selling every day. But if you were to add up the amount of money and volume of what business is done on the paper products of gold, like the ETFs, ETNs, swaps, calls, put options, right? All of those things, if you add those products and futures, you add all of those up and it comes up to like 500 or 600 million or billion a day, whatever the number was. So you can see that the paper trading market on top of the underlying asset is the larger market. And that is something I believe is a sign of maturity. However, to point out as to note here, XRP perpetual futures mean they don't have a limit. So now that is a bit of an open-ended thing, which I would think to see a mature market developing on top of the asset, we need to see daily limits. We need to see weekly, monthly, one financial quarter, which is about 3 months, right? And then 2 financial quarters at the very least. We see a future market and things of that nature start to develop in that manner. And now you're talking about, the futures market's just not one contract deep that's just open-ended, because that's what perpetual means. Right. But at some point, I think they would have to come in and start to distinguish that market with a daily and a weekly, or a daily and a monthly, and then start to get the price discovery off of the asset and onto the paper market. It's just my thoughts. That's where it is. And that's where I'm at on this day. That's going to do it for me. There's a lot happening in this space, and there's really big things happening with Flare Networks. Don't take your eye off of that ball either. And hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Check out all the links in the description box and the comment section. There's some really great deals in there for you for any of the services you may want or need, and they are trusted, vetted links. I'll catch all of you on the next one.